Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
So welcome to this episode of Touched and Empowered. I am Katie here with my co-host Ace, and I'm very, very, very excited to introduce Claudine Hicks. She is a freedom coach, an author, speaker, and certified meditation and facilitator with a decade of meditation worldwide, including Jamaica, Chicago, New York, Georgia. You cover a lot of areas. Claudine is uniquely qualified and guides authentically. Inspired by Kintsugi, Kintsugi. Okay, I tried to get it right.
You did
not good at Japanese, but I understand that's the unveiling of the cracks in the pottery. Right? So, unveiling beauty in the brokenness, fostering confidence and potential. Grounded in biblical principles and Holy Spirit guidance, she transforms sessions with rewriting stories. Recognized by Voyage, is that Atlanta magazine?
Yes, it is.
All right, so lots of shout out to Atlanta. You've authored books on growth and shine, TV shows, podcasts featuring Claudine, spreading her inspiring message of embracing life's mosaic. I love how you have it written as mosaic, because it truly is. We make beauty out of the pieces of our lives.
Yes, we do. Yes. You're so right, Katie. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much once again for that intro. And once again, ladies, thank you so much. I do count it an honor to be able to just share my story. So once again, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here, especially with everything that you have done in your bio. That's a lot in a short period of time.
Yes. Yes. Just great. I'm just grateful, truly grateful.
So my first question is, why do you refer to the brokenness being fostering into confidence and potential?
Because I am one that was also broken. And that's one of the stories. I was actually out for lunch earlier today, and I did share with someone. I said, I always just take my story back to the Kintsugi, because just like any masterpiece, a lot of times when something is broken, we can either, sweep it up and throw it away. But instead, with the Japanese art, it was not just swept away, but it was taken and replaced with golden repair. And so when I look at my story, myself as being a broken young lady, I was, molested by my cousin when I was younger. And that just actually opened up the door for a lot of different things going down the line, as far as just the relationships that I had after that. And then just people I would encounter. It was just going from bad to worse to worse to worse. And I just really was just a broken young girl, just really trying to find myself, figure out, okay, who am I really, and why am I even here? And it came to the point where I remember one time I was just being, I'm kind of going back and forth, but I remember I was like maybe 14, 15 years when I remember being in the bathroom just crying. I had a knife to my wrist, was like, I just need to just end it all, because why am I even here, Lord? Why am I even here? I'm being teased because I'm just so skinny, and just, I don't even know what to do with my life. And so just a really broken young lady. And I'm just so grateful. For one, I didn't take my life. I'm just truly grateful. But I just said, what, let me figure this thing out. Let me try to figure this thing out, figure life out. And so with that, I wasn't raised in the church. Like, you talk to some people, they're like, I'm the PK kid or something, or I was raised in the church, went to church every day. That wasn't my story. We kind of sort of went when I was younger every now and then. But when I became a teenager, my mom and I, my brother, we joined a church. We're actually still a part of that ministry today, but just started going to that church. And it wasn't so much about church, but more about relationship. And so in the very beginning, being still broken, I was going to church, but even though I was going to church and singing on the choir, I was still doing things that broken people did, as far as not feeling loved enough, not feeling enough, feeling the spirit of abandonment, feeling shame. And so, okay, so what's really happening here? And so I figured out that it was more than just a church service. And that leads me to say, I remember the day I got baptized. First of all, it was It was a setup from Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I actually went with my friends, my girlfriends, to church. They were getting baptized, and the day before baptism, that Sunday, they didn't have a ride. I said, well, I'll take you guys and just sit in the back of the church. And so they went to the front, and they were kind of telling them what baptism is, what it represents, symbolizes, and so forth. And I was in the back. I just got my hair done, so I'm definitely not getting baptized. So I remember sitting in the back of the church, and one of the ministers walked up to me. She says, well, here's a packet for you. And I said, oh, I'm not getting baptized. I'm not getting my hair done, messed up. I'm fine. And she said, are you sure? And let me tell you, I said, I'll take the package, I guess, but okay. And so I remember when my girlfriends and I, it was two of us, and when we left, they asked me, were you going to get baptized? I said, I kind of feel like the Lord has called me to get baptized. And so that day I went shopping for a shower cap or a swim cap. And so surely I can't get my hair messed up, I kept on saying. And then I'll never forget that. I'm going to fast forward the day I got baptized. You kind of just knew it. Although I didn't go intentionally to get baptized, I kind of, by the time I left that meeting, I kind of knew that's what the Lord wanted. And we know it's an outward show to the people. That night I went home with all my mess that I was going through, with everything that was going on in my life. I remember I went home after my baptism, and I laid in the bed. And when I laid my head down, I remember I kept on hearing heavenly language. I kept on hearing tongues, but I understood it. And at the time I didn't speak in tongues as yet, but I understood what they were speaking. And I literally felt like it was the Lord, the heaven, having a conversation about my life. That's what I literally felt in the spirit. And I remember laying there, and I said to myself, oh my God, the Lord loves me so much that they're actually having a conversation about my life. I must mean something to the Lord. And that's kind of like when I knew that I know that I can say, I know that the Lord has a plan for my life, not just my life, for all of our lives, but I knew then, like, oh my God, yes, it took for this to happen, for me to get tricked, just to get baptized that particular day. But when I sat and I laid in my bed, and I kept on saying I couldn't get rid of the noise, but they were literally so heavy in my room. It's like the presence of heaven was in my room, and they were having a conversation about Claudine's life. And so that was kind of like a turning point for me. And I just began to just really seek the Lord for myself. Grateful for the church, of course, that I was raised in, but I was just like, it was more of a personal thing. The Lord was like wooing me to have that one-on-one relationship with him, because let me just say, something good can come out of brokenness, because I look at myself every single day and I'm like, God, I thank you, because if it wasn't for the Lord, I honestly would be somewhere else in my life. So something good can come out of brokenness. So brokenness doesn't necessarily mean that life is over. There is beauty for ashes. And so that's my story.
That is amazing. And I love how you talk about how it was noise, but you chose that it was not noise. You chose to recognize the meaning of hearing that. And I mean, all of us hear noise.
Yes.
It's whether or not we choose to listen to that higher source, that intuition, whatever you want to call that greater spirit that provides that information to us. So I love the distinction there.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like it's so incredible that you came from this perspective of understanding that, being broken, right? And I love that you use the analogy of like the Japanese pottery, right? Essentially, when it breaks, if anybody, you can look this up. I don't know the exact name of it. What is it called again?
Kintsugi.
Kintsugi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. When you take them, so thank you. Yes. So you take gold. Once the pottery is broken, you take gold and you glaze it on the inside or around basically you glue it back together with gold.
Yes. Yes.
And that is wonderful. Right? It's a beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's a beautiful metaphor. And it's wonderful that you can actually see that in regards to your life. So what is really important is Katie and we've been going through a lot of stats and data in regards to these traumatic events that happen across the United States. It could be anything to do with molestation at early age. It could be anything to do with like incidents of violence leading towards suicidal attempts. And once upon a time, when I was around 9 years old, I actually did have a babysitter who also there was a molestation that happened to me when I was a child. And I remember it becomes such one of those memories where you just become so devalued and debased, and you don't even know what's going on because you can't even articulate it to your parents,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And then as you get older, it's like, if you tell them, are you going to be stalked with more shame? Are you going to be stalked with more inhumane treatment? Are you going to continue to feel abused and almost not human, right?
Right.
And that happens. And the fact of the matter is, like, right before you were about to continue with ending your existence on this plane, I think it was so crucial that you heard something that pulled you out of that. And I respect that story so much. It's very beautiful to hear anything that can bring somebody back to life within a moment before even going, right?
Yeah.
It's so crucial nowadays. And there are people like you out there who are helping empower people to believe that there is that existence, that part of your life. There's so much more that's about to happen that you can live for.
Yes.
And yeah, it's so beautiful to hear that passion behind what you stand for and what you're doing.
Yeah. And I do want to say this part, and I don't know where this will fill in, is I always tell people, because some people feel that you have to be in a church service for certain things to happen, to feel that breakthrough or to feel some type of significance or, of who they are. It don't necessarily have to be in a church service. Let me just say that to you. And the Lord has been showing that to me. It's like most of the breakthroughs that I've had has been me and the Lord, me, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Been a family of, of three and me. To be very honest, it's not going to necessarily have to be that you have to run to a church. I'm not saying don't go to church. Please don't, that's not what I'm saying. But you have a relationship with the Lord. He will meet you exactly where you are. He will meet you. Like I said, I went to the service that day and I got baptized. Yeah, but that night he met me right there, and it didn't end that night. It continued to him ministering to me, because from when I wanted breakthrough in my life, I wanted to know, who am I, Lord? Why am I even here? I think like, I might've been maybe 21 at that time, I believe. God, why am I even here? And so just, with the hope, just saying, don't give up. There is no story that is too far gone or too broken that you can't be repaired, that you can't come back to. There's no story. I know there are things out there that might be worse, than your story, her story, all the other stories put together, but there's no one that is too broken that there's cannot heal, that there's, that you can't be healed from. There's none. I don't believe that at all.
And there's always more to the story that we don't share. We don't know the stories that other people have. The thing is that none of us are alone. We all have some story. Whether or not we've shared it publicly or not doesn't matter. We all have a story.
We all have a story. We all have a unique story. And I know you and I were talking earlier, Katie, and I don't know if this really may not have anything to do with it, but while you and I were talking about, I was sharing with her, I love my purple hair. I wore purple hair for a while. That was like my signature look. And I was sharing with her, I said, when I had my purple hair, and I didn't tell you the whole story, but I found so many people found freedom with my purple hair. They're like, oh my God, how can you just wear that? I'm like, well, why can't I? I mean, I just want to be, this is just who I am. And a lot of times we want to hide behind because society says, or, somebody in leadership says, you can't do this. But if that's who you are, just be you, because that's what the world really needs us to show up as ourselves. Because we keep camouflaging and trying to be someone else. We'll receive it to a point, but people can actually kind of tell when you're not telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth, that there's something else behind it. And so when I started wearing my hair purple, it may seem so simple. I had older women especially coming to me and saying, I've always wanted to do my hair purple, but I've been afraid what people will think. Girl, who cares who thinks? Is it what you want? And it sounds strange, but I swear to you, I had so many women approaching me. And I remember the one particular lady that we went to church with, she said, look, I mean, she found me after church. Was like, look, I was like, hey, she's like, I did it. I said, I see. She says, I feel so free. You should be free. God wants us free. And she was just she was just so excited. And I'm just, sometimes we get so caught on society and what society would think. Baby, what do you think? What would you like to be? What do you love? And so just finding ourselves and find out what we love, even through the brokenness. I think in our brokenness is when you really find out really who you really are. And a lot of times we find out when we're in certain situations, unfortunately, that's sometimes we find the Lord and who we are in the Lord, if that makes any sense at all. it's, it's unfortunate that it comes to that, but sometimes it's in those dark places, those dark moments, in the hurt, in the shame, that we go seek it. Okay, God, what is going on? Show me you, reveal yourself to me. What is it? Reveal yourself to me. So,
and I don't think it's that's the only time that we can hear it. I think it's just that might be the only time that we are open to receive it, because there's so much background noise going on in our day-to-day lives that sometimes we have to hit that rock bottom before we can see the possibility and the potential as to what we truly are capable of.
True. That is very true. Yes.
Oh, I love that, especially as we're going through the 7 planets in retrograde right now. I think. So, all right, just to give some people some framework, and I absolutely love what Claudine mentioned in regards to like embrace yourself. And in those darker moments, sometimes you realize like some of the stuff that we thought we needed to cling to, it doesn't matter. It's like 100%, like what's going to continue to have you live the best life of your life? What's going to feel free as you walk through the world? What's going to feel like you? And that's so important and so empowering. Right. I love that you said the purple hair. I was like, did purple hair so much?
And mine's fading out right now.
This is hard to dye. So I've been working on it, trying to figure it out. It takes a lot of money. From what I've been doing.
But again, it's about having fun. It's about finding your joy every day. And if it's expressing yourself with purple hair, or me with the unicorn horn on my headset, or Ace doing a ponytail on the top of her head like Pebbles from the Flintstones. Oh yeah. I mean, it's whatever makes you smile, and being able to see that, nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in nature that is 100% perfect. There's always some kind of flaw.
No.
Which is actually important in my opinion. I think when we think about flaws, right, we think about something as like almost imperfect. But when you really think of, in my opinion, when you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, that air quotes flaw is actually it's an alert to reorganize things into a new way. It's a way to reevaluate the picture and figure out a way to balance it again and rebalance it and continue on. Claudine, I'm Nichiren Buddhist. So I actually chant with the SGI, kind of similar to Tina Turner. We've actually, the SGI has actually done a lot of interfaith events with Christian churches. And it's our philosophy and the dignity and respect of life is very the same. Very, very much the same. And I think for me, when I actually came to my faith moment, my come to Jesus moment, I was definitely at that space where everything, like I went through it all. I did realize at one point I was like, all right, the attempts didn't work and I want to keep living. How do I keep living? Right? What is it that's going to keep me going, and what's going to make me happy? And like, I can do all these cool things, but what's it all for? Right. And that's when when somebody introduced me to chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And it's interesting because those moments where you just ask the universe for a question, be it the Lord, God, whatever it is for you, right? Like, once you pose that question, something will come. It's actually really fascinating how that happens, right? It's like that, like, what is this for? Bam, person opened the door like at my office, and I was like, you're probably the only person I would listen to in the form of what you would listen to, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing to hear. I want to dive a little bit more into the be you, your joy, your happiness. What empowered you? Like, was it something somebody said to you as you continued moving forward in your life? What was that one thing that either inspiration, either like a role model, something of that nature that you can continue to emulate with you?
So I'm going to read a poem. It's a real poem. And I'm going to answer your question.
Awesome.
So this poem says, in a dense forest lived a crow who was content with his life. He had everything he needed, and he was happy with his simple existence. One day, as he was flying through a forest, he spotted a beautiful swan swimming in a nearby pond. The swan was white and graceful, and the crow was amazed at how stunning the swan looked. The crow approached the swan and expressed his admiration for her beauty. "You must be the happiest bird in the world," the crow said. The swan in response smiled and said, "Actually, I used to think that too until I saw a parrot with two different colors. Now I think the parrot is the happiest bird." Feeling intrigued, the crow went to find this parrot. The parrot explained to the crow that while he was happy with his two colors, he had recently seen a peacock with multiple colors, and now he believed that the peacock was the happiest bird in the world. Curiosity peaked, and the crow went to find the peacock. As he approached the peacock, he saw the hundreds of people had gathered around to see the magnificent bird. Once the crowd had dispersed, the crow approached the peacock and expressed his admiration for the bird's beauty. The peacock in response said that while he was beautiful, he was trapped in a cage at the zoo. He had noticed that the crow was the only bird that was free and not in the cage, and he had been thinking that perhaps the crow was the happiest bird in the world. The crow was surprised by this revelation. He had always thought that he was the least attractive bird in the forest and had envied the other birds for their beauty. But now he realized that the peacock, despite his beauty, was trapped and unhappy. The crow learned that happiness does not come from comparing oneself to others, but rather from appreciating what one has. So I say all that to say, it came a point in my life where I was tired of comparing myself. I wanted to just be authentic, my authentic self. Similar to what I said earlier, Claudine, what brings you joy? Embrace your uniqueness, how you look, how you feel. I was told when I was a teenager, right before I graduated from high school, I was told I was getting my dress fitted, and the lady that was doing the measurements, the seamstress, she says, "Oh my God, you have such long arms." And ever since she said that, it was like it did almost broke my heart. Not broke my heart, but it did something to my heart. And I was always self-conscious about my long arms. Like, oh my gosh, you look funny, you're real skinny, and now you got long arms. And so it took me a long time to embrace my uniqueness and said, it is what's needed for this world. It is not what's needed for the kingdom. And so what I do with my long arms, as she said, is longer than other arms, as she puts it, is whenever I get around a crowd of people, especially women, I use my long arms to embrace all the women that are around me. Because I like to touch. I'm a touchy person. I like people to know that I see them and I can feel you. You are heard. And so with my arms, that what was once tried to I guess belittle me or whatever it tried to do earlier in my, when I was a teenager, whatever it tried to do, I use that as an expression of myself, and I embrace with my long arms, girl. I love hugging people, big, small, skinny, tall. I'm going to use my arms and embrace you. And so I may not look like you or like you, but I embrace and can embrace and acknowledge the beauty that you both carry. And I'm fine with that. Because I'm me, because I need to be like this and look this way and stand this way, just like for you all. So we all carry something so unique and beautiful. Our gifts and talents are so necessary and needed and can look very different from each other. But we're loved by the Lord the same way, and the world needs our gifts and our uniqueness. So that's why I am so passionate the way I am.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh my gosh, it's so crucial at a time like this. Oh, so powerful. Did you see my heart was warming? I was like, yes.
It's like I can feel the hugs even through the Zoom camera.
Yes, I just
That's wonderful. In such a time of like social media, right? The fact of the matter is there's also a comparison thing that is being induced when we're looking at social media posts, especially for the youth. They're looking at like, I want to look like this. Which is like not natural. Some images could be naturally you. Yes. Other images are not.
Right.
And that's been causing such I kind of call it the haze. Like I see a bunch of young adults, middle school students that kind of just, you can tell that they're just like, oh, I wish I could be like this. I wish I could be like, And it, that type of internal masochism, it hurts. It'll hurt a child so much because
Yes.
they're looking at something that isn't them. And, I think in high school, I came to that realization.
It's the expectations that we think are there that
Yes.
really aren't there, because the only person that we have to please is ourselves.
Yeah, really. Is
Yeah,
are you happy?
100%.
It's like, are
Exactly.
you happy? So, yeah.
And it's a hard lesson to learn. I mean, I'm still learning it.
Yeah, we're all. Yeah.
We're all still learning.
We're still doing it. I'm
Yeah.
still doing it. I fall into it sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yes.
so there's also a Buddhist concept. I love that you're like expressing these poems and these incredible concepts. So there is a Buddhist concept called the peach cherry damson. I didn't know what a damson was. It's like an Asian fruit. And essentially what's natural to each fruit, like that is what it is. And then you just embrace it that way. And I'm going to tie this into what you just said, that we all have a unique mission, right?
Yes.
And our unique mission comes from what we've cultivated in our lives, who we are, our arm length, our hair color that we choose, our
right.
right, our anything that we came into this existence with. We have the power to utilize that for the best result in our families, in our communities, and even like in front of the mirror. I think it's so important for all of us to really understand that no matter what shape, form, love it, hug it, kiss it, do all you can do it.
Yes.
It's you.
Yes.
Yeah. We should all accept each other for exactly who we are.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, like you just said, because of the world of course, media, social media, there's so many people out there that just don't. I actually had a conversation with someone recently, and she was sharing with me that she said for years she didn't look in the mirror because of shame. She didn't like how she looked, different things. I'm just like, really? But we don't know what people encounter, what they even go through. So I do think it is very important. I do look at myself every morning like, girl, you got it going on, girl. And then of course,
okay.
So you have to, and I mean, some days, and let me just say this, there are days I don't feel like that. And that's okay. Right. Give yourself grace. It's sometimes just those days, God, I just don't feel like it, Lord, and just, okay, go on. Let's make tomorrow a better day. But I do, of course, I do talk to myself and just try to encourage myself, because I did a TikTok that I said, our memory cells, they're listening to our emotions and the words that are coming out of our mouths. So our words are so powerful. What we're saying about not just necessarily about someone else, but about ourselves. What are we thinking? Our cells are gathering all those things that we have, different things we encounter in our bodies. Like, why do I feel this way? Why am I depressed? Or what are you thinking? What are you saying to yourself about yourself? So that's another thing of, walking in that you have to also, like I said, give yourself grace, because some days you just don't feel like it, but just make sure that we're positioning ourselves where we love ourselves also. And even tell ourselves, forgive me for the way I've treated you or talked to you, self. I'm so sorry, because those things, like I said, can get, rooted in. So emotions can get rooted in. So
100%. I love that you're saying that. Like, are you talking to yourself in a way that, gives you grace, that gives, being gentle with yourself, it's so crucial. And here, I'm going to say this, like our thoughts, we're thinking how many thoughts a minute? There's like a stat for this.
Millions.
Yes.
Millions, right? Yes. The human mind.
Yes.
But being able to reprogram that is something that's actually really important. And I think this actually stands in all cultures. The idea of like weeding out any of those negative thoughts. You're purifying your thoughts so that you don't get down on yourself. Yes. Even your subconscious. So fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, your subconscious picks up everything. Anything, all things.
Yes, it does.
So if you're listening to some type of music that degrades your life, you're going to degrade your life without even knowing it. Like I actually, this is something that I've noticed, because I understand, I pick up a lot, and I'm very aware. When I'm listening to music, I will hear the lyrics loud and clear. And if the lyrics are doing something that would possibly put me in that type of position, like you were mentioning, I have to shut off the radio. Like it's one of those, like being able to protect your mind from anything that could possibly continue to internally harm you. It's so important.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I totally agree with you. I'm there with you. And I don't know if you know Joe's Dispenza.
Yep. Heard of him.
Yes, I love like his meditation and stuff. But he always talks about the mind and reprogramming. So that's one thing, like you just said, being so very careful what I allow to get into my ears, what I listen to, because sometimes we just think it's just okay to listen. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. Be so very careful what we allow to, to come in. So yes, I totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't. Certain pop music I could listen to, but then I started, all right, so remember the Britney era in the early 2000s, the NSYNC, the Christina Aguilera, right? And then there was another person that came up with music that I was like, we listen to this and we wonder why we have issues with relationships in the United States. Like,
going back and listening to lyrics to the songs that we listened to in high school was eye-opening. What I know now compared to what I knew back then, I look back at those lyrics and I'm like, oh my God, I was such a corrupted youth.
Yes.
And isn't it scary how you remember the words too? Like you'll sit there and karaoke hits and you're like, wow, I still remember all of it.
Yes. Is that good? Bad, but yes. Yes.
But it's amazing what our subconscious remembers. And it's not just what we hear, but what we say to ourselves. Yes. And it's all about just being aware of that and being like, oh, wait, I am trying very hard to stop saying a pain in my neck.
Yes.
Because I have found that I will physically get pain in my neck. Yes. After a certain period of time, it actually happens. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I need to reword it. Well, I switched it to pain in my, no, that's not a good thing either. Yeah. So let's try something besides pain in. Let's just come up with something new.
I want to share those. All right. So funny enough, Katie talks about my age all the time. So when I was younger, my older sisters, they were 11, 13, and 15 years older than me. And they grew up with cousins from Jersey City, right? So it was TLC, it was Boyz II Men. It was like on the cassette tape in a mixtape before Barney. That's how that worked. Yep. Because they were...
Yeah.
So my dad would take all four of us, because they had to take me. I was in the baby seat. And my dad would drop off my sisters first, who would go to the middle school, then the high school, and then he would take me home. So as I was air quotes waking up, I was awake. I was listening to, I was like Tupac. There was Janet Jackson. There was Boyz II Men. There was Brian McKnight and Barney. That was the way the lyrics were programmed into my head. Yeah. And I remember this one song by Janet Jackson. This is why I get along with people older than me, right? There was this one song by Janet Jackson called Doesn't Matter. And for years, I thought she was like, doesn't really matter what the blah, blah, blah scene, I'm in love with the enemy. And then I listened to the lyrics recently. It was like, doesn't really matter what the others see, I'm in love with the inner being. Those were the lyrics. And I went, okay, that was empowering. Thank goodness my sister brought Janet Jackson into my life versus Britney Spears. Hit me, baby, one more time. No, don't hit me. Don't.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those songs are, like, wow.
Some of them are really out there. And then there are ones that you go back and you listen to the lyrics and you realize that you've been singing the lyrics wrong.
Oh, yeah, I realized that.
And then you find out, like, as they said, just how empowering the song actually is.
Yeah.
And then now you listen to it with a whole new set of ears. It's the same thing with what we tell ourselves. Changing what we say, we're listening to it with a new set of ears now because we are now aware of something we weren't aware of before.
Right. Yes.
Absolutely. And coaches are actually out there to help you with that. Like they've actually, a lot of coaching circles, Claudine and I are in a few, as well as Katie. They've turned off the noise. They don't listen to the radio. They've actually been encouraged to don't watch the news because
for years.
Yes. I kind of I used to work for news stations a good portion of the time. When I read AP, the Associated Press, from there, that's when the opinions went out on it was very, the Associated Press, I found that the information was very objective. And then the outlets could put their own personality on it.
Okay.
Do what you will. Just to stay aware with what's happening. Essentially, the shootings that happened, those are still facts.
Of course. Yes,
right? That type of stuff. I mean, I'm not circulating myself with negative news all the time,
Yeah, I
but
can't.
just to be aware, they
Yes.
can't do that.
Yeah.
But the coaches, right? Like coaches like you, Claudine, freedom coach, who actually understands that that type of programming is out there. That's what we're here for, to help deprogram you from what was disempowering.
Yes. Yes, exactly. From the lies. Yes.
Yeah.
The fact that we are all doing the same thing in different ways just shows how much we all believe in everyone's inner strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
And
no one really
thing,
knows how strong they are until they hit rock bottom and have to climb back up.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And also when you reflect on your mistakes, you know, there's this big, you know, that internal critic. We're growing up with generations that kind of understand specific expectations, high expectations.
Right. Yes.
That criticism passed on to us, kind of like your arms are long. Oh my God. Right. Like that criticism, when you're by yourself, right? There's another reason why a lot of people have a hard time being by themselves nowadays, because that criticism is still permeating in people's minds.
Yes, that is very true.
And attacking us. And then from there, we attack ourselves for making mistakes. And it's okay to make the mistake. Actually, a lot of that mistake is actually part of the beauty, in my opinion.
It is. It is.
And I heard a wonderful saying, it's not a failure, it's a temporary defeat.
That's good. Yes.
And if you reflect on the mistake, you actually have wisdom. For instance, me forgetting that Claudine is a freedom coach, right? Understanding that small quip and understanding that those small mistakes, that brings out wisdom. It actually helps you understand something there. There's something underneath that mistake so that you can bring out a new result. And that wisdom is fortifying. It's better than putting band-aids on something. Instead, you're actually, like Claudine mentioned, refurbishing a pottery piece with gold.
Yes.
Taking those broken pieces and turning them into mosaic pieces of art.
Yes. Beautiful pieces. Yes. We're a masterpiece. I mean, we just need to see ourselves as that masterpiece. We really are.
Thank you. What can we be excited about for you, Claudine? What's coming up for us to?
So one, the book is coming up. Your Next Best You book is coming up at the end of September. I think it's been, the end of September. So I'm super excited about that anthology, to be a part of it. It has, a lot of times in life that we feel that that you're over something, but I'm learning that ain't nobody arrived. I know that's not proper English, but we're all on a journey. It's a daily journey. And while I was writing this book, I mean, the Lord, writing the book, and I was like, oh my God, I thought I was over this. And so just, having just typing and crying like, oh my God, oh wow, okay. And so that was truly a blessing to be a part. And I can't wait for the book to be published. And like I said, the end of September. And so we can hear all the beautiful stories of people that are going to, share their stories in there about what does your next best you look like. But I also, in the meantime, am doing a meditation retreat. It's a one-day meditation retreat, and it's called Soulful Sanctuary Journey to Renewal, because sometimes our soul just needs to be renewed and refreshed. And so I'm in Georgia, and I'm having, like I said, it's a one-day retreat. I kind of just sat down one day and I'm like, we just need a getaway to just quiet all the noise. Like we talked about earlier, sometimes there's just so much noise, and some of us don't know how to silence that noise. And so just spending time with meditation, whatever that may look like for you. Some people it looks different. For me, I just like to it's a quiet thing for me. I just sit and kind of sometimes I do chant, like you just said. I do chant the name of Christ or whatever it may be, but just being still, because when you meditate, is really just coming, is shutting all the outside sounds or voices and bringing you to what's in front of you. I just got tongue-tied. And so I want to provide a space for people to come and just release all the cares and worries and kind of teach them how to meditate, how to shut all the noise out and just come into that moment. And so really, really, really excited about what's going to happen on that day. So, have the lights going, the essential oils. I'm excited. I'm going to get some essential oils and have them have their mats, yoga mats, whatever you want to call it, just regular mats, and just have them just learn to relax. Because sometimes, like I said, even at home, you don't even know how to get away. Some people don't have a closet to get away in. And so sometimes I want, my goal down the line is to have a place people can come and just get away. And let me tell you where that actually came from. Our youngest daughter actually is in school, her first year in college. And we went to the orientation. They took us to a room and they said, this is the crying room. I said, the what? She said, this is the crying room for kids that it's just too much and they want to get away. And I said, can you imagine? Kids are the only one that want to run away and just cry. There are adults too that want to get away and just cry. So in general, I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere, but I eventually would like to have a space where I have a place for people to come. You can cry, scream, kick, do whatever you want to do in the rooms, but I want to have different rooms or spaces for people to come and just get away and just release.
Ooh, that's
once a week, I like to also lead meditation. It might be throughout the week or just once a week. I want to also have facilitate meditation techniques and stuff, incorporate that in that. But yeah, I do want to have a crying room, if that's what you want to call it.
That's exciting.
Just call it a release room, because it could be happy tears that you're releasing as well. Exactly. It doesn't have to be sad tears.
Yes.
But that's beautiful.
So that's what's coming.
Wow, that's exciting. To this day, actually, I still have a hard time crying. I think there's only one podcast interview or podcast where Katie and I were talking that I've ever cried in. It's actually really hard for me, and I don't know where it came from. It's like one of those things that's programmed. You don't have that place to cry. You can do that when everyone's gone. One or two. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how much have you wanted to scream? Scream, and you can't. Yeah. I didn't realize how important that is until I did this. There's this thing called Loop Group, essentially, for films and movies, right?
Okay.
Films and TVs. So there's people that the extras in a film, they're actually told to be quiet, and then they bring in a group of improv people to improv over the background.
Okay.
Right. So one of my buddies was like, "Hey, what are you doing on Wednesday?" I was like, "Nothing. Why?" So I get to go do this, right? And it's for a comedic slasher that's coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
It's in theater. It's called Slaughterhouse. It's about a sloth that comes in. It's like a murderous sloth that comes into a sorority house. I don't know who came up with this idea. This is like Sharknado film version. It was hilarious. I'm watching this. I could talk about this for 2 years. And they have this one scene where a girl's getting killed in a shower by the sloth. It's a puppet too. It's a live action puppet sloth.
Yes.
And they ask two of us to do a blood curdling scream. And I was like, oh, I got this. And I got there. Gave my blood curdling scream that I've been holding in my entire life. And it's out now for talk about art. It's out on a big screen. I'm so happy that I didn't want to steal the show, but I'm so grateful for the fact that you're going to allow everyone in the world to have this release room.
Yes.
I had to wait 28 years to scream. You get to
Yes.
You get to do it with Claudine in a safe space, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And not have to worry about murderous puppets.
Yeah, right. Right.
And on that fantastic note, unfortunately, we do need to wrap up the episode for this. But Claudine, I just have to say thank you, because your vision on what you want to create with this space for people to meditate and to release whatever emotions they have to release, is an absolutely beautiful thing. And I just wanted to wish you luck with it and ask for a link later so we can put it in the show notes, so then that way people can get a hold of you for your meditation thing you're doing at the end of October, as well as everything you're doing in the future. Thank you everyone for joining us on Touched and Empowered, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Have a great week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Claudine.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.